is to help finish up that Bible database project, adding a few things, and then we'll get into some Excel practice. And on Monday, I'll be here to work through that last. The last practice. There's another database practice that I'll help you through on Monday. Or if you have any other projects you want to work on Monday, it'll kind of be a review, practice, study day. And if you got everything done, won't even take attendance on Monday. So if you feel confident. So let's finish up the Bible database, and then we'll jump into the Excel and help review all that for you. And it is being recorded. Okay, so let's go to Access. Open my previous Bible database. We're going to finish that up. Here is, yeah, that's the one. So we had finished the query health and query summer. Those are the last things we did. And let's just take a quick look at the query health. You should be able, under design view, just even looking at a query now, you should be able to tell what that query is doing. And notice when I come back to it, when I put things on 3 different lines, it changed that to putting them all ORed together on one line. So it changes it after you do it. It's like, wait a minute, why couldn't you leave it on 3 separate lines? But what it's doing is actually interpreting the SQL it generated and putting it in their designer view. Remember, we can always go back and view the SQL portion of that. If you want to get really nerdy, feel like, hey, what would the code look like? That's the SQL view. But the results of that give you that. You can always go back and look at the design of it. Notice we're looking for verses that contain any form of those words. Remember, if there's any form of a word, always put stars on the left and right side of it. That means there can be something before, and then the word, and then something after. If you want to be sure it is a word, you could have doctor space star, so it's not anything else but a doctor and a space. Or if you want to have a space in front of it. And of course, if you have commas and things, then it gets pretty complicated to worry about, well, we don't want to throw it out if there's a comma or a period. But this is the most common search. Star, the word I'm searching for, star. That was just a little review of something where I've done. Okay, now remember what we did? We modified our ASV last time. We went to Design View. And we added a pic of the to attach to the verse. Let's add one more thing to this. We have the verse and the narration and the book num, and I'm going to do it a slightly different way than we did for the first section. Let's start a new table, and let's go ahead to create table design. We're going to start a new table to give us some practice at this. We could have attached a note to each verse in the Bible ASV table, but let's go to table design and do it a different way. This is more sophisticated. We're going to call this table, this is going to be our notes table. So for our first field of any new table, just make this your habit when we're doing databases. We'll make that first field, it's going to be the ID of a note. And typically that first field is going to be the primary key. It's going to be the number that Access uses for our notes. So let's make that first element a note ID and primary key. The data type, because we don't want to have to type anything in here, let's make it auto number. Auto number is the best thing to use for primary keys. So this is our index into our notes. This is going to be a table of notes attached to our verses. So what do I need to know? Well, I need to know what verse I'm attaching this note to. So I'm going to add a verse ID, and that's going to be a number. The reason it has to be a number is because I know it's a number for, if I want to reference a verse, each verse has a number. Let's make sure of that by going to BASV, Design View, and I see that, yes, bib ID, the unique key for every verse, is a number. Okay? If I'm going to link to that, I'm going to call it a relationship to bib ID in BASV 1901. This is just a comment, but it's helpful to make your comments actually meaningful. So I can attach a note or multiple. The nice thing about this style is I can attach multiple notes to the verse that I'm studying. Now let's have things that we can attach. How about, like we did before, let's attach a picture related to that verse. So now this lets me have more than one picture. And actually, let's make it an attachment. I can have an attachment related to a verse, but let's do something even more. Let's do a latitude, and let's see, latitudes, I think they need to be a number. We'll come back to that. And longitude. Why am I doing that? Well, I'll make that a number too. If I go to Google Maps and go to Israel, did you know that whenever you click on a place or tag it, it shows you the latitude and longitude of that particular location anywhere on the earth? And I can copy that, and I can come back to my database and keep that stored. But let's see the format of that. Let's just paste that now here just for an example. From Google Maps, I get this from Google Maps. It's a number point something 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 and another number point. So it's a floating point or a single precision number. So in order for me to be able to save, I'll call that an example from Google Maps. Example. If I want to save latitude and longitude, I need to save it. I suppose I could make it a short text, but let's go ahead and let's make it a number. Instead of a long integer, let's make it a single like we did in the book. And the format, what do we call it? Let's call it a fixed format. And well, let's see, let's leave decimal places auto. And basically, I'm going to copy paste whenever I go to some place on the earth and want to keep track of that location. I'm going to go to Google Earth or Google Maps. I think Google Earth will let you do the same thing. Copy paste the latitude and longitude. So that's something that will allow me to maybe map something, either where the picture was taken or where that particular event took place. So we have a verse, or sorry, we have a picture, a latitude, longitude, and we might as well actually have some text there, so let's call it our note. That particular note. Now, what do you think? Should that be short text, limited to 255 characters?
Long.
Or long text? Long text is nice when you're not sure. You might have a nice long paragraph or even a document. I'd say, well, not a document. If it's a document, you'd probably make it an attachment. But this lets me now have a table of multiple notes can be attached to the same verse. And I can always search for notes related to a particular verse. But now it's time to save that, and let's call that our notes table. Our notes table. Oh, not done yet. I just remembered. Let's also add, since we're taking a picture, we're taking a note, let's keep track of the date entered. Now will have an assignment on the final. You'll be given a description of a table for you to create from scratch. And it's going to say, give the fields their appropriate data type. So what do you think would be the appropriate data type for date entered? Date time, yeah. So birthday, date of the event, date of the last change. Think of the type of data that might be a good rather than just short text, even though that's the default. For example, this yes, no, that might be as I've been there or not, or yeah, I've been there, or there are other notes. But think about, as you're creating a table, think about what makes the most sense for that particular data type. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's see. So we have notes, we have the verse ID. I think that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and close this now. saving the changes. And this is one of the things that is most often forgotten or missed on the final access portion. You're going to be given a statement like, establish referential integrity between these two tables. Well, let's look at our notes table. Our note, yeah.
When I was trying to save the table, it said that there's no primary key to find.
Oh yeah, so just click on that top thing and then click on the design. Click primary key, make it a primary key. I think it gives you the option to add a primary key, but you can always just go back and click the primary key on that. Primary keys are kind of funny. If you try to remove them, sometimes it conflicts. Okay, so we have the notes table. Now remember, the verse ID is going to be referencing related to the bib ID. So what will be our referential integrity? Well, if we refer to a verse ID, we don't want to be referring to a non-existing verse by accident. So let's see how we do that by going to Database Tools, Relationships.
I forgive you. You're good.
Are you doing all his work for him? What's
No,
going on?
he erased my table.
He erased your table.
I don't know.
I can't find my notes table. I don't know if I made a mistake and lost it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, easy. Well, let's go ahead. It's easy enough to recreate it. Create table design, and I'll just go through the fields here. Now remember, you're going to be given instructions for a whole different table, but this is how you do it. You just enter the name of the column, and then the type of data that it's going to be. And that first one, we like to make the primary key. That's just the way to do it. As we get more complex databases, that gets a little more interesting. But for us, just make the first one some name with ID in it. And you notice in the book, ID is the default if you just start a blank table. In the description, those are just comments. So when someone else looks at my table, they see, oh, that's what's supposed to go in there. So node ID, verse ID, pick, latitude, longitude. Those are two fixed format. Oh, I actually forgot to make longitude a single. Make longitude and latitude a single, and we'll do fixed format. Actually, general number is fine. I don't think fixed format needs. Let's go general number. That's probably a better choice. I'm gonna do the same thing for latitude. I'm gonna make it not fixed, but I'm gonna make it general number. General number makes more sense. So latitude and longitude can be numbers with decimals that I can always copy paste when I go visit it at maps.google.com or Google Earth, or from my phone. You can actually take a picture. I think some devices store the actual latitude and longitude location when you take a picture. That's some of the fancier cameras. Okay, so you got your table there, Noah? You got it?
Yes, I got it.
Now you will also be asked to put in some sample data. So remember how to do that. We just go to Datasheet View, and I can then enter some data. And just for fun, let's paste that latitude that I got from Google Maps. I go over to Google Maps, and I'm gonna paste the first part of that number, copy, Control C. Come back to Access C, so it'll let me paste that number. Well, it didn't let me paste the number. There we go. There's the latitude. Go back to Google Maps. Get the longitude copy. Come over here and paste. Yeah, look at that. I got latitude and longitude. I could develop a map of the locations of my notes. So back to design view, just to help you guys out there. Design view, this is what I have. Node ID, verse ID, pick, latitude, longitude, note, and date entered. The date is date time, the note is long text, number, the pick is an attachment. The nice thing about attachments, you can do more than one attachment. And then the verse ID is a number. Now, this has to be a number or it's not, or the next thing we do is not going to work. Remember, if we're related, you can't have a relationship without the same type of data. So a number, we know it's a number in Bible or BASV, it has to be a number here. Or when we try to do the relationship, it'll say, sorry, incompatible data types in that relationship. Kind of a lesson for us, I guess. Don't be unequally yoked. Okay, you ready to do the relationships now? Got your table, Noah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now don't worry about putting in data for now. We're going to do the relationship first. And that's the better way to do it. You don't want to have data that might be messed up and then go to enforce referential integrity. They'll say, sorry, I can't do it. You've already got some bad data. So how do we get to relationships? Database tools, relationships. Now this is from before where we established the relationship between the book num and the mass ID. But now we wanted the relationship between our note and the verse that we're attaching the note to. So what do I need to do? I need to right click, show the notes table. So double click on my notes table. And now it shows up as something that I can have and designate a relationship with. And what's a relationship? Well, verse ID is related to bib ID over here. Now I can click and drag verse ID all the way across to bib ID. That's saying that the verse ID is related to that bib ID. This pops up, and I choose enforce referential integrity, meaning I can't accidentally refer to a non-existent verse. And if we ever change the number of the verse, I'll cascade updates or deletes. We're never going to delete anyway, but we might as well check those. Now when I do that create, oh, you know why? No, it won't let me, because I already entered some data in there and I'm not referring to an existing table. So let me fix that I'll create the relationship for now, and then I'll fix my data and come back and enforce referential integrity. So I'm going to go back to my notes table, saving my changes to the relationships. Notice here, my verse ID, I had accidentally referred to a non-existent verse. I'm going to just put that 1 for now, so then it won't complain about referential integrity. So now I can close. Now I'll come back to my database tools, relationships, and I'm going to rearrange these just so I don't have lines that are in weird places. I can rearrange my little tables. There, now my lines aren't crossing other lines. Now I can double click on that and now say yes, enforce referential integrity, because that one data entry I made does now satisfy. It's referring to an existing verse. I click OK, and now I see, yes, I have referential integrity. Now I can't accidentally forget to put in a verse that a note is attached to. So that's just a little practice at creating a table during referential integrity. Yes, question?
Mine still doesn't work.
Okay, let's take a look. So that second one, see how you have verse ID is 0? It has to refer to some existing verse, and then you can close that. It's best to close it.
On the note table.
And now
Do you have any
establish it.
numbers on it?
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Very good. Now that whole idea of that relationship, the main point of this is, if you're doing databases, it has to be designed properly so people can't accidentally enter bad data. If it lets you enter bad or corrupt data, it hasn't been designed properly. That's why when you go to websites, they want you to register. They don't let you type in the state. You have to select it. That guarantees that you're not accidentally typing a misspelling in the state. They do some of that. It's very annoying sometimes, especially when you're 60 years old and they want to spin her down all the way to the year of your birth, and you have to spin because they don't let you just type in 1961. You'll find that in a lot of places, and that's all because the data in the tables must be valid, or their searches, all that information they're keeping about you isn't valid. They can't sell it for as much as they would otherwise. Okay, so we close it, save our relationships, and now let's practice. Well, let's see. We did the referential integrity. Make sure I haven't missed anything from the database. Yeah, the rest is knowing what data types to assign to different things. Let's go get some Excel practice going here now. So that's the end of our database practice. The last things, creating a table. Remember, when you want to create a table, create table design. That first one is typically going to be a primary key. If you don't have a primary key, it'll complain when you try to save it. and then the relationships between them. You'll be given instructions on fields to create and what data types. You'll be told to give the appropriate data type. So if you're said, let me just do a little practice here. If you're asked to give the birthday of someone, what would be that data type?
Date time.
Yeah, date time. We could do a calculation of age and have it be a calculated. Let's just do a calculated field just for fun. Let's do age. This is a mistake a lot of people make. They'll make age be a number that they type in. No, bad thing. Let's do calculated, and let's have age be my, oh, I might have to save it. I might have to save my table first before it will let me do my, well, let's just do that. I can do, age is something like now function minus brackets birthday. And let's see if that'll work at all. Gonna save the table, yes. We'll call it a test table. Oh, I'll make it a, no, I won't make a primary key. Oh, it doesn't like that calculated field. Well, don't worry about the calculated field. That was just kind of a little quick test. I could do something like, what other types of data are there? Currency. When would it be appropriate to have currency as a data type? Yeah, when I'm dealing with money or cost or the budget amount allocated to a department. Auto number is what I usually do for the primary key, so let's just do that for fun in the test. I'll just make that auto number. Remember to make a primary key, just click the key. Let's see, what else? Yes, no. Status of retired or not. Status of I've read this verse or not. Remember in that Bible reading? These others are more complicated. The attachment is probably the most useful, where I can attach documents to things in my table. Okay, that was just a last minute. Remember the things you're going to have to do. You're going to be given a table with field names, and you're going to have to figure out data types to go with it. I'm not even going to save changes to that table. That was just test. Okay, so we're done with database practice. You can upload that Access database practice then, and I'm going to then jump over to the Excel practice.
Is that
This is the Bible database screen.
Larry practice?
Yes.
What do you want us to call it? Oh yeah. I remember.
You can just call it. You can call it anything you like.
Homer, cs101 Bible database.
And I'm going to start a blank Excel spreadsheet then. Once you're done, start a blank Excel spreadsheet, and we're going to do the rest of the time practicing those skills you learned a while ago. But we're going to refresh them so you're ready to ace the final.
Also, we didn't watch a video.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh.
Sorry about that. We'll maybe watch one on Monday.
Aww. Or we watch it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know everybody's uploading stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you're uploading. Let's see if there's a funny day.
You don't go to clutch, huh?
Let's see. Is there anything interesting? Let's see.
Scott's Sterling's great. What's that? Submit.
Let's see what the score for the game is.
Haven't watched Tim Hawkins for a while. Let's see.
Yes.
He's getting kind of old. What's the newest comedian? Oh, Chandra Pierce. Chanda Pierce. Haven't heard her for a while. That older lady. I forgot her name now. Jean. I haven't heard Chandra. Let's listen. We'll get a little of Chanda.
How'd you get the game? Oh,
Where'd she go? There she is.